I've had some requests. Hi everybody, it's Kimberly. I've had some requests about how I am going to put my hand knitted yoke onto my knitting machine. So I thought I would give you a quick little video on how that's done. So first, what you have to do when you're machine knitting is you have to knit swatches. So that's what I have right here. I'm going to show you real quick. This is my knitted swatch on the knitting machine. This is waste yarn. That's just some sort of yarn that I had left over. And then these are the knitted stitches. The tension dial, which I will show you, is kind of like your needle size. So these little holes here tell me what the setting was on my tension dial. The next thing I do is I put my sweater on two needles, separating the back and the front. So now here I am at my machine and I'm hanging up my knitting. I'm using something called a transfer tool. It's the single transfer tool. It's attached to a double transfer tool. So I take this single transfer tool. I already have my machine threaded and I'm pulled out enough stitches. So all these little hooks are a stitch. And what I do is I take the stitch off the needle and transfer it. That didn't go so well because of course y'all are watching. And transfer it onto the hook. So take it off my needle, transfer it onto the hook. Now I'm working with two yarns held together, so I have to be very mindful that both yarns are on here at the right time. Also, you'll see over here, this is called a claw weight. And when you're doing this type of knitting on a machine, weight is your friend, unlike anything else. So here we go, I'm taking this stitch off the needle and on to the hook. Each hook represents a stitch. So I'm going to continue that all the way across. You can see it here. It goes all the way, sorry about that. It goes all the way across. Here's my last needle on the hook here. So I have a little work to do and I will be, so as soon as all of these are on, then I will show you one more thing and then I'll start knitting. So here I have the lighting in here. It's very bright and sunny. Sorry if you can't see, but you can see that I have everything is on and everything is ready to go and it is hooked in. Let me just show you how it's hooked in right here. So the yarn is coming into my feeder and then I'm going to knit across a row. The only thing that I did was I added one extra stitch on either end, and that's for when I'm going to have to, since I'm not working in the round, I'm going to have to add a stitch for the seam. So here you can see that I've started knitting. There's my dogs. And I have knit 20 rows. So to put this on the machine, to fix the mistake that I did, and to knit 20 rows took about 35 minutes. So now I'm just going to knit and I will knit 10 rows so you can see how fast it goes. So the actual knitting or moving of the carriage part isn't, I mean, it's the knitting, but it isn't, it's the prep work is what takes the time, right? So here you go. So anyway, that was 6 rows. My row counter now says 26. I'll be knitting back and forth until I get 105 rows, and then I will use some scrap wool. And when I use the scrap wool, I will just be knitting a couple rows so that when I can then pick up around. But I'll show you that as I go. I'm going to keep going. My yarn kind of went spazzy over here. You see how it's going in two different directions. One is going here and one is going off to the back and one is coming off to the front. So I need to put those in a bowl so that they don't run amok. But that's the knitting part of the knitting machine.